Hey all, today is part 5 of the Handheld collection. So far we did letters A, B, C, D, now we're on E and F. So, let's begin. We got Earthworm Jim for the Game Boy Advance. We got Elf the movie for the Game Boy Advance. We got Elf Bowling 1 and 2 for the Game Boy Advance. We got Disney Epic Mickey Power of Illusion for the Nintendo 3DS. We got Ever Oasis for the Nintendo 3DS. We got Fairy Tale, Nintendo DS, Japanese import. That was for the Nintendo DS, by the way. Now we got Fairy Tale for the Nintendo Switch. Now we got a lot of Final Fantasy games. We got Final Fantasy 1 and 2, Dawn of Souls for the Game Boy Advance. Final Fantasy 3 for the Nintendo DS. Final Fantasy 4 for the Nintendo DS. Final Fantasy 5 Advance for the Game Boy Advance. Final Fantasy 6 Advance for the Game Boy Advance. We got Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8 Remastered for the Nintendo Switch. We got my favorite Final Fantasy 9 for the Nintendo Switch. We got Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2 for the HD remaster for the Nintendo Switch. We got Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age for the Nintendo Switch. Final Fantasy 12, Revenant Wings for the Nintendo DS. We got Final Fantasy Adventure for the Game Boy. We got Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Rings of Fates for the Nintendo DS. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Echoes of Time for the Nintendo DS. Final Fantasy Explorers for the Nintendo 3DS. We got the Final Fantasy Legend for the Game Boy. We got Final Fantasy Legend 2 for the Game Boy. Final Fantasy Legend 3 for the Game Boy. We got Final Fantasy Tactics Advance for the Game Boy Advance. We got Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2 Grimoire of the Rift for the Nintendo DS. We got Final Fantasy The Four Heroes of Light for the Nintendo DS. We got the Flintstones movie for the Game Boy. We got a game that never came out in the US, but it got a translation for the Frog, the Bell Tolls for the Game Boy. We got Fragment Story for the Nintendo 3DS. We got Frogger's Adventure, Temple of the Frog for the Game Boy Advance. And finally, we got F-Zero Maximum Velocity for the Game Boy Advance. Well, there you have all the E's and F's. Next up is the letter G's and H. And I'll see you in the next part. This is Jim signing off saying bye for now. Take care and peace. We'll see you next time, everybody.